So street's going to be a real mess.
Well, I wonder why the garbage wasn't picked up today.
I don't know. I sent a thing through to the mayor's office. They were supposed to check on it. And there's a lot of garbage out there. Oh.
And tomorrow, I don't know if they have off because it's Veterans Day. I don't know if we give them, if the union give them the Monday. I don't even know.
I don't know. But that means that our garbage and our recycling will be covering the streets. Oh, Jesus.
I'm not sure what day they have off for it, so.
Yeah, I don't know. The recycling, they don't send us a notice about holidays, the county.
Are you ready, Mr. Collins?
I am, ma'am. Whenever you're ready to proceed.
We have 1 minute. This meeting is being called to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, pursuant to Public Laws 1975, Chapter 231. This agenda is complete to the extent known and was sent to the Trenton Times and the Trentonian newspapers, posted on the first floor bulletin board in the City Hall, filed in the city clerk's office, and posted on the City of Trenton website. Formal action will be taken. Roll call, clerk.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely is absent. Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson.
Present.
Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison is absent. Mr. Michelle.
Present.
Mr. Michelle is present. Mr. Rodriguez.
Present.
Ms. Vaughn. Council President McBride.
Present.
Ms. Vaughn is absent. Council President McBride, we have a quorum of 4.
There's a lot going on.
Mr. Cruz?
Good evening, President.
Thank you. Mr. Chair?
Mr. Cruz.
Present.
Hi, Colin.
Mr.
Good
Manali?
morning, Madam President. Good evening, Madam President.
No, he's absent. Who's here from the law department?
First down.
There's some serious interference here, Mr. Colin.
Yep, I'm looking for it.
Somebody's in their car with their, somebody's in their car.
With their blinkers on.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I will continue. Ms. Director Coley.
Present.
Chief Mazer.
Present.
Director Delisle. Mr. Cruz is here as Acting Director for the Health and Human Services as well. Mr. Onatieri. Mr. Onatieri.
Does he ever come to the meetings?
Yeah, he's here most of the time.
Ms. Richardson.
Present. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Mr. Lavenberg.
Present.
Ms. Schoenauer.
Present.
And I will note that Ms. Vaughn has arrived. 5:30.
Indeed.
I will just call again. Mr. Blakely? Mr. Harrison? We'll note their arrival. Council President, would you like to proceed?
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, first on the docket, we will have the September 3rd, 2020 minutes, which I emailed out to the council. Next, we will also have 31 communications and petitions to note. We will also have a report from the city clerk's office for the revenue in total of $12,760.10. There are no ordinances for second reading. There is, and I'll start with the resolutions. There'll be a resolution out of the clerk's office regarding the renewal of an alcohol beverage control plenary retail consumption license for the current licensing period. Can that be added to the consent agenda, Madam?
Councilman Harrison.
Mr. Harrison, I'll note your arrival, sir.
I didn't hear what you was asking.
For the clerk's office resolution for the renewal, can I add that to consent agenda?
2667.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
2667 is a resolution granting renewal of alcohol beverage plenary retail consumption license number 1111-33-231-009, Chestnut Corners Corp., 600 to 602 Chestnut Avenue for the 20 to 2021 licensing period. Would you like to add that to the consent agenda or a roll call?
Yes, it could be consent. Mhm.
Yes, ma'am. Next, from the Department of Administration, we have Adam E. Cruz, Business Administrator. Resolution 20-651, a resolution consenting the appointment of Mark A. Lavenberg as Director of the Department of Water and Sewer for the City of Trenton. Any questions?
Yes, President, roll call.
All righty.
Yes, and I have some questions. Can we discuss?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Wong.
Yes, is Mr. Lavenberg on the line?
Yes, present, Councilwoman.
Yes, hi, Mr. Lavenberg. I just have a couple of questions for you. Congratulations on your nomination by the mayor. But you have come before council on numerous occasions, and there were several things that the council have asked about regarding your department, which is currently serving as acting director of Trenton Water and Sewer, and seeking the more permanent role as a director. I wanted to get a status of where you are with some of the deliverables or some of the requests that we have asked when you first joined the city in your role. So where are we with the status of the ACO and getting that removed? That's the administrative consent order that we have with DEP. And where are we with getting the Ask Me contract resolved or finalized or settled? All your employees are, of course, part of, or I would say most of your employees are part of the employees union. I just want to know what your advocacy has been around that and engaging the mayor and some of the leadership. I believe one of the presidents worked in your department, and that's very important. I think every director, not just only you, should be engaging the mayor and encouraging him to move that contract along, because all your employees currently have not yet received market level raises, and their contract is long overdue, and I don't understand why that's not a concern for you, but I want you to tell me what you're doing about that and how you're advocating for your employees. And also, I want to know, what have you been doing regarding advocating to get city residents working on all your capital projects? Because council has been very generous to you, Mr. Lavenberg, and your department. We approved a lot of the bonds and a lot of the funding that's for those capital improvement projects. I just want to know where you are with making certain that Trentonians are a part of those projects. A lot of those projects are underway in their 8-figure projects, right? Multi-million-dollar projects. And I'm not hearing that Trentonians are employed on those projects. And the other thing that I've been asking about each time you come to council is about the ordinance that you were going to collaborate with Director Onateri on to ensure that entities like PSE&G and other, either internal to the city, other entities, when they dig up the streets or they're doing construction projects that require them to dig up our streets and our roads and our sidewalks, that they're doing those repairs, that they're going to go back and repair and apply the application to ensure that the roads and sidewalks and whatever have you are left back in the condition that it was in when they arrived. And I don't see any progress there neither. And the last thing that I wanted to get your opinion on, I think that's it. So yeah. So and also, and talk to me about the COVID. Are you mandating that all your employees wear masks? So, and because I see a lot of city employees working around the city with no mask on, and that's very concerning. So if you can tell me where you are and give me the confidence that you're going to be addressing all these issues or have made some progress, then perhaps I can give you my vote. But if you haven't made any progress on these issues, I can't really with confidence give you my vote to be the director of Trenton Waterworks. So can you provide me some information here?
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman, for those questions. And then I believe if I miss anything, please don't hesitate to take it back. And then I think the one thing we'll touch on at the end is the forensic audit as well. Relative to the ACOs, I really have to appreciate the support that I've gotten from City Council in regards to the large one concerning the open water finish reservoir, which is a major undertaking, and the purchase of the adjacent property relative to that. As you're aware, we're under 2 ACOs, and it's much appreciated the work that's going on with ACO number 1, which is the reservoir. ACO number 2 is the lead service line replacement program, in which we are making progress. And as you're aware, we are in litigation in regards to that. I don't want to speak too much to that litigation, which is ongoing, but I can just say things are looking extremely good for ACO number 2 and the progress that we've made. And as you know, the initial hearing that we had, we will be meeting with the department to come to some arrangement to come to an end to ACO number 2 relative to that. As far as the union negotiations and contracts, yes, Edmund Johnson does work for the supervisors union, and I appreciate working with him every day relative to that. The ASME union is and a contract is something that's, as you know, is handled by administration. But I work with administration every single day to work for all the employees of the city and get them into, my focus now is get them into correct titles. The work that we've done, the surveys we've done with surrounding communities in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania shows that the rate of pay at which we are getting for our employees is far below the industry standard. And, relative to the ASME contract, which is important, but it's still capped at 2%, I believe we need to address issues concerning titles within the civil service system that we work on. And I'll be coming to council asking for approval of titles to help get our employees where they need to be. In particular, the one gentleman we talked about, I think, is far underpaid for what his value is and what he brings to the system. And that's just one individual, but you have literally hundreds of individuals that are dedicated to water utility and are, in my opinion, not being adequately paid. And, as far as the union contract goes with the limit of 2%, is going to be very difficult. So we're looking at titles in relationship to that. That's my effort on that. I believe we mentioned with Mr. Onateri the conditions of the roads and the paving that's going on with that. I'm very excited to announce that we are going to be bringing Mr. Hogarth over from Public Works as an engineer and to focus on road restoration relative to ongoing work that the city has with the lead service line replacement, but also our water main breaks and issues that are associated with that. So we're going to look for obviously more funding when it comes to materials, but we believe Mr. Hogarth, we're going to have the knowledge, hiring somebody from within the system to manage the road program and then work side by side with the Department of Public Works. As to COVID, as you're aware, we had the initial outbreak in our building ourselves. We still have one person that is not out of the woods yet, would be the word, and it's a very deep concern. We did have to shut down for a week, the week prior to the election, and had the building sanitized and taken down. We've also installed temperature sensors and only allow one way in and one way out of the building in which temperatures are being taken and recorded. We have a very strict policy according to the business that came down from administration as far as mask wearing. There's a zero tolerance policy for that. If anybody is ever seen working inside the building without a mask, they are given a verbal reprimand right away, and then there's more severe punishments up to and including termination. We're taking this extremely seriously. If you're not aware, we are also working on an A-B schedule where we, at any one time, will have half of the workforce out on any particular day while the other half of the workforce is in. That has certainly slowed down productivity, but the team has gotten a lot of experience with that in spring with the first round, and I think we're progressing very nicely with that. The work is getting done. Those individuals that do not have to report inside the building are actually working like on a full schedule, which we appreciate because we don't have any room to slow down as far as the lead service line replacement going and inspection on our half. I believe if we want to touch on the forensic audit, we have been progressing with that. If you would like an email chain, I have the documentation for that, but we've been trying to get a meeting set up. I do apologize for the week that we were shut down and last week being election week, but we are trying to set up a meeting with 3 council people and the team's meeting with the CFO and the principal from Grassi Engineering for the kickoff meeting. We could start as soon as Friday, and we have other dates that are out there last week, but Mr. Connell will be sending invitations out to get that meeting set up.
I already sent them out.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so just quickly, well, you didn't touch on, all right, so that's good news. You didn't touch on what Mr. Hogarth Stephen is going to be doing to engage external parties like PSE&G. Like, are you going to, we need an ordinance, right? We talked about the ordinance, Mark, and I don't see any progress there.
The ordinance would be coming from the Director of Public Works in relative to that because they are his streets. We can only be responsible for the damage that we create with that.
Okay,
and I'd be happy to work with Mr. Onateri on that as far as the ordinance goes. But, we did have that meeting, and I think we're better coordinated now with work that we have going on as well.
Okay, so and the other thing that I didn't get a lot of information in your comments on is getting city residents working on your lucrative capital improvement projects. Why aren't these individuals being hired?
My apologies. My handwriting when I was taking notes was terrible, and I couldn't quite make out what it was. And I know firsthand how important that is to the city council, and it's also important to me to get this done. The existing contracts we have been in place, and now we are just getting into phase 2 on the lead service replacement line, and that was emphasized in today's phone call relative to the pre-bid meeting that we had today, is that there has to be a big emphasis on that happening. I do know for a fact that both of the lead service line contractors that we have out there have hired local residents. And I'd be happy to provide you with that information of who they hired and addresses if needed.
So you're saying that Southgate and Spinello has hired Trentonian residents?
Yes.
Residents of Trenton to work on those two capital improvement projects?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you know the number?
I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Okay, so they're working as temporary, in what capacity? Temporary, full-time?
They're working full-time, but I mean, it may be just for the length of the contract.
Oh, that's fine, but I just want to make sure that we're in compliance, right, with, all contract compliance and EO and affirmative action.
Yeah, I don't even believe we're necessarily in compliance as relative to the federal loans or anything like that. But I mean, no, we are making an effort to do it whether we're in compliance or not in compliance. We do want to hire city residents for these jobs.
Well, I understand that, but on the onset, it didn't appear to be a top priority. So that's why I'm asking you now that would you make that your priority as a director of the water utility?
Absolutely.
Because your department has the most multi-million-dollar projects, whereby we can, our residents can capitalize and take advantage of some of these programs and get some employment, right? So we're counting on you to make sure this happens. And so as far as the ASME contract, I hope that, you're engaging the mayor, right? Because at the end of the day, he's appointing you, and I hope that you are working very closely to ensure that he is held accountable and getting your employees the resources and the salaries they deserve, right? We
Absolutely.
Can't have Trentonians working there underpaid, right, and below market rates. That's unacceptable.
I agree with you, Councilwoman, 100% on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Madam President,
Go right ahead, Councilman
yes,
Rodriguez.
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Lautenberg.
Yes.
Okay, the first meeting that you attended, I reminded you that we had a resolution requesting quarterly financial reports from Waterworks. That was passed over a year ago, and we have not received not even one of those reports yet. On the forensic audit, I thought that forensic audit, the ones that were going to meet with the auditors was City Council. We were the ones that asked for that audit. And so far, well, I just got an email this afternoon that there's finally going to be some meetings. But why there's people there should not be involved in those meetings, the meetings with council and the auditors. I have things that I want to express that I cannot do it in public with, the people that we are asking that forensic audit to be conducted on, because the forensic audit is going to be for Waterworks. So I believe there's a conflict there. What is going to be our role? I believe councils should have been the main role, should have been councils. We were the ones that requested that audit. Also, I'd like to know what was and what is your relationship with Operation Solutions, what it is or what it was. Also, I'd like to know what was or what is Operation Solutions' relationship with Wade Trim. You know that I will not vote for anyone that is associated with Wade Trim or Operation Solutions. We voted down the contract for Wade Trim, and we voted down the contract for Operation Solutions, so I will not be willing to vote for anybody that was related to those companies. And you know why I am saying that. Okay, that's all I have to say.
Okay. So, Councilman, I need to get back to you on the quarterly reports because I know they're being generated, and if you have not gotten them, I will get them over to Mr. Connolly tomorrow or Thursday. Relative to the forensic audit, I'm a little unclear of who you want and who you don't want to be in this kickoff meeting. If you don't want me in the kickoff meeting, that's fine, but normally my budget officer and myself would be included with the meeting, and I think it's would be important to have the CFO in the meeting because the auditors will be working with the CFO to obtain the records that they keep. Am I missing something on that, sir?
I understand that your point, but that should be a different meeting. What I was asking for was a meeting with City Council and the auditors, not with the management of Water Works. That will be a different meeting. That you're entitled to meet with them as many times as possible. You have to meet with them, but I'm talking about City Council meeting with the auditors.
Okay,
it could be arranged with the same schedule that we got.
All right, so I have this clear. I understand it will be you, Councilwoman Vaughn, and Council Vice President Caldwell. And you're suggesting...
That was the initial group. Yes, It can't be more than 3.
Right, so if I have this clear and everybody's on the same page, if the 3 of you want to meet with Grassi, I don't see why I can't arrange for that to happen.
Yes.
All right, so let me recalibrate that, and I'll set that meeting up. That'll be. I don't think it
could be set by Mr. Condon, by the city clerk or whatever.
Okay.
We could do it the same way as we are meeting now.
Okay, that's fine, Mr. Conlon. If you have James O'Brien's contact information, or I can hook you two up and get that going.
Yeah, if you could forward that to me, I'll set it up.
All right, that's not a problem. Councilman Rodriguez, in relative to operation services, let's just go back a little bit on the history of what occurred. I believe there was a RFP or a bid proposal out there. I was not familiar how it actually went out to get some labor at the filtration plant, and a contract was entered into with Wade Trim at the time. And I believe I can't even go back to the date. I believe it was 2018, something along those lines. I was contacted, like I get contacted frequently as a licensed operator from Wade Trim relative to a system, a large system in Mercer County. So I called them up and I said, "Is this Trenton?" They said, "Yeah, it's Trenton." I was like, "Wow, that's awesome." But I had already been in progress of working towards the city of Newark at the time. Wade Trim, subsequently to me coming on board, the principal from Wade Trim, Mr. Chris Johnson, he filed for a business registration in the state of New Jersey, named the company Operation Services. In January of 2019, I took up a role and an opportunity to work at the filtration plant in Trenton. I was familiar with the filtration plant because I live literally 20 minutes down the road. I understand the size and the magnitude of the treatment plant, and so I took that as an opportunity and as a job in order to do it. As the contract was winding down, not quite at the end, and they were paring down, and there was not going to be an extension on the contract. I parted ways with Operation Services, and I took up a position with Remington and Vernick for an opportunity to work in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, where I took a position working in Phoenixville as a licensed operator in Phoenixville. When the job position was posted in Trenton, I had made some really serious bonds with the co-workers, particularly in the filtration plant, and some of the people over in Cortlandt Street, but particularly with the people in the filtration plant. Given the publicity and the lawsuit, I took that as a personal affront and wanted to do whatever I could do to stave off the lawsuit and then the possibility of the city of Trenton losing the facility, and more importantly to me, the men and women that work for Trenton Waterworks not having necessarily being guaranteed a job if there was a state takeover. So, I put in my application. When I heard back in the spring from Danielle London that there was a possibility, that I had her support in order to do it, I moved forward with that. Obviously, we went through the COVID in the spring, and the process was delayed. But, when I had the opportunity to take it, I took that. My relationship with Operations Services was a one-year process in which I worked for them. And they have consequently, since no longer working in Trenton, have up and pulled their roots up, and they're back in the Midwest with no presence here in the state of New Jersey, and as far as I know, no intention to come back.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, so is there anyone else? I can't hear who.
Blakely. Yes, sir. I'll mark you as arrived.
Oh,
Yes.
hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm just letting you know that I'm here on the call. It's Councilman Blakely.
Yes, sir. I've marked you as arrived.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Lavenberg, this is Councilwoman McBride. And earlier, when you were answering Councilwoman Vaughn's questions, you stated that the employees that were working the AB, the AB calendar, as far as 3 days on or 2 days on, or however, that everyone was working from home, and that was going very well. You had stated that. So my concern is that if that is the case, which it should have been, the last time we talked about the audit and for the appointments to be set up, and then the city hall was closed, should have had no bearing on those appointments, because everything is going virtually. All of the meetings are virtual meetings, and so there should not have been a pause in setting up those meetings, because if everyone was working, whether it was an A schedule or a B schedule, someone should have been available to set those meetings up based on the fact that we were doing them virtually. And then the second thing is just not for you, but for the administration. When the city hall was closed, the city hall did not forward any of the calls. There was no transfer of the lines. And the example is this: if there was no one in the city hall working in the water department, but everyone should have been working from home because they are getting a full paycheck, why wasn't those lines transferred to or forwarded to a number that the customers still could have reached someone? There was hundreds of calls coming in, and there was no forwarding of that number to the water department or any other department as far as that matter, but we're going to keep it to the water department for you. And so the residents were just like bombarding council with questions about the water bill, how to pay it, could they pay it online? And all of the normal questions that all the regular questions that they normally have weren't able to be answered because there was that number for the water department was not forwarded to a number to any of the employees' cell phones, their city lines, so that they can answer those calls. And when the city hall is closed for 5 days and the lines are shut down, it's just unimaginable. And for you to say that the workers were still working full time, but no one was able to take any calls from the residents of Trenton. So I would like to know just what they were working on and who was working if no one could answer a call to the water department when the city was shut down. I mean, on your private landline, when you leave home, you was always able to forward the calls to wherever you were going. And so for no one to be able to reach the water department and no customer service at all for that week, can you please tell me how they were working and why the appointments for the audit wasn't made during that week?
Yes, thank you, Council President. So, and both items are basically tied together. So the water utility was shut down for 14 days. We were on a 14-day quarantine. We immediately got into action, and our first concern obviously was customer service and the phone calls, about 300 phone calls that we take on a daily basis. There was issues where we could not get back into the building, and there were issues in which we could not get those phone calls sent individually to cell phones that we had. So then we had to make a move. The initial move we made was into the basement of City Hall and have the phone calls transferred to the computer lab. We had issues with that, obviously, with the cases reported in City Hall. So we relocated to the Emergency Response Center, graciously with Mr. Grady handling that situation there. And then through the weekend, the first weekend, we were able to set up and we were taking phone calls the entire time through the Emergency Response Center where we had the landlines. We needed to transfer those lines from Cortlandt Street to a landline and did get those set up. And we were, again, taking the 200-300 calls, handling any billing and customer service questions that were coming in there. So we did have people working an A-B schedule on one day, one off the other in the Emergency Response Center, taking those phone calls. And I apologize for the interruption on the first, I think the case was reported on a Thursday. We did have issues on Friday where calls were going to the answering service and then picked up. But by Monday, we were in full operation in the Emergency Response Center. With that activity, we were rather busy with the testing and the protocols of getting things set up at Cortlandt Street, and I take full responsibility for the lagging of the forensic audit. The email train I had, I guess the last email I had was on October 22nd that went out, and then we weren't able to get back to Mr. Conlon to reschedule that until we came back in, I believe, November 9th. Not November 9th. Yeah, it was from October 22nd to November 9th. I take responsibility for that, for not getting that meeting set up, but we are working on as best we can. It was really, honestly, I'm not going to lie, it was a struggle handling those phone calls coming in and taking care of the customer service in that situation, and getting laptops and computers set up in the billing, and it's a lot of hard work that was put in by the Trenton employees to get that done, particularly out of customer service and billing.
Thank you. Mr. Conlon, you may continue.
Yes, ma'am. 20-651 is going to be roll call. Next, we have Resolution 20-668, a resolution closing municipal buildings on certain holidays observed by the City of Trenton in 2021. Any questions?
I'm sorry, which one were you on?
This is 20-668, ma'am.
1 second. I'm sorry. I'm just, 20. Okay.
I have a question on that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right ahead.
Okay, I read that 12th of October, Columbus Day, the holiday, the paid holiday was going to be switched to June.
That is correct, sir. They switched
Okay.
they switched the Columbus Day to Juneteenth, which was
My
being
question.
celebrated on Friday, June 18th.
Yeah, my question is, October 12th still going to be Columbus Day?
Well, I think it is on the calendar, but it will not be celebrated by the city of Trenton as a recognized employee holiday.
Okay.
Well, it can't be changed on it's a federal holiday, isn't it, Mr.
I've seen other municipalities put that as a rolling holiday, where they actually offer the holiday, but they allow employees to choose which day that they'll take it on. Setting it to another day as Juneteenth, I think is in that line. So I'd have to ask the legal department for a legal opinion on whether they believe that's legal or not.
All right, thanks. Go ahead,
Council
Councilwoman.
President.
Yes, go right ahead.
I just wanted to say, is the business administrator on the line, Mr. Cruz?
He is.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
Hi. A couple of residents have asked whether or not the administration, and of course the council can raise the ordinance to change the October holiday in October that was designated for Christopher Columbus to Indigenous People Day. A lot of municipalities around the country have raised ordinances to celebrate that day as a local holiday. Is there plans of the administration to do that? To adopt October, the month of October, or I think, was it October 12th as the Indigenous Peoples holiday?
We have not had that conversation, Councilwoman. The change that was made was actually just for the for Columbus Day to Juneteenth, and it's a pay holiday. So it got switched. We spoke to the unions, and the unions were also okay with that. Right now, under the contract that we have with the unions, we have 13 holidays going for the year, and so this is also in line with the contract as well. But the administration, we as administration have not had conversations about adding an additional holiday in October.
Okay.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson.
Yes, Mr. Cruz, I would prefer that we held off on this resolution until we get a legal opinion on, since one of these holidays is a federal holiday, and to replace it, like the councilwoman said, shouldn't there be an ordinance dedicating these holidays as local holidays? I mean, I know we have to confer with the unions, but they don't make a decision on additional holidays. We do.
Yeah, well, the mayor also signed an executive order back in June, Council Vice President, declaring the June 19 as the Juneteenth. After that, the governor of New Jersey also did the same thing. He joined, I guess, other states, and he also named a day for Juneteenth also in June.
Okay, but with the Columbus Day, in as much as we don't want to celebrate Columbus Day anymore, it is a federal holiday. Has that been removed as a federal holiday?
Well, we removed it from our holidays, yes. It has been removed, so we will not be observing.
Did someone have an opinion there?
Yeah, no, it was me, Councilwoman. I was saying that the city of Trenton cannot remove a federal holiday, and the state of New Jersey can't remove a federal holiday. They don't have to celebrate it, but it's still a federal holiday.
Yeah, that's my question for the legal department before we move forward with this.
I have a question.
So I think everybody pretty much, Council Vice President, I mean, everybody have the liberty to celebrate any holidays that they wish. However, the city of Trenton has moved to celebrate Juneteenth as a holiday and remove the Columbus Day.
Mr. Cruz, I'm not talking about Juneteenth. I'm talking about the removal of Columbus Day. That's a paid federal holiday.
I have a question, President McBride.
Mr. I'm not through.
Still speaking.
Okay, did you come to me? Thank you.
Yeah, no, I had asked the legal department about this. Do we have to look into this further before we make these changes? Because these are paid holidays.
Is the legal department on the phone? Are they on the phone?
Sorry, I was on mute. I apologize. Rashawn Williams here on the phone. I looked into this issue and did some initial research when the mayor initially made Juneteenth the city holiday. I know it's been collectively bargained. While my gut says that it's fine, I would like to take a day to do some legal research and provide counsel with a written opinion. Is that okay?
Can you let us? Can you get back to us with something before Thursday? Thank you very much. Thank you, Council President.
Okay. Councilman Blakely.
I'm no attorney. Well, thank you, President McBride. I'm no attorney, but from my understanding, federal holidays are not mandatory days off. They're optional, and that's discretion of whatever organization or government. And so it is not mandated that we take off on Columbus Day. It's our decision as a body to make a decision, and I'm sure that the law department will concur with what I just said. But I support having Juneteenth off. I think it's a very, very good idea. This is a minority city, and the contributions of African Americans have not always been highlighted. And I think it's a step in the right direction to memorialize such an important day with a day off. And as I mentioned previously, having a holiday off is not mandatory. Just because it's a federal holiday doesn't mean that we have to take it off. Thank you.
So, Mr. Williams, you'll look into that for the council and get back with us with a written opinion, if you can.
Yes, Council President, it's Robin Vaughn.
Yes.
His opinion should be twofold, right? It should be addressing adopting the Juneteenth holiday into the city of Trenton as a day off, correct, and paid holiday, and also about Columbus Day. What do we do with the holiday in October? And I believe in some states and cities and municipalities are still going to celebrate Columbus Day, right? The federal government have not totally removed that as a federal holiday. But my understanding is that in New Jersey, because several of my constituents have written me emails requesting that the city of Trenton adopt into our municipalities the Indigenous Peoples holiday. And that is done by ordinance. And I would believe that we would have to pass an ordinance for Juneteenth. And that's what I would hope that Mr. Williams would do, both an opinion on adopting the Indigenous People holiday in October, replacing Columbus Day, and also adopting Juneteenth as a local holiday in the city of Trenton.
Mr. Williams, the question that Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson had was the 13 holidays. So I think that if you can bring some clarity to that too, because we can't add another paid holiday onto the calendar. I don't believe we can, but if you can bring some clarity to that, because we're talking about 14 days now instead of 13. So thank you. Mr. Conlon, would you continue?
Ma'am, how would you want to roll call this for now or add it to the consent agenda subject to removal?
No. We're going to leave it out as a roll call based on the information that he's going to get for us.
Thank you, ma'am. Next from the Department of Finance, we have Resolution 20-669, a resolution authorizing the cancellation of various grant balances from the federal, state, and county governments. Any questions? Madam President, how would you like to proceed?
Consent, please.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution 20-670, a resolution to provide emergency appropriations to the state fiscal year 2021 temporary budgets of the City of Trenton Current Fund for grant appropriations in an amount of $2,788,657.43.
Council President?
Yes, go right ahead, Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes. I guess my question would go to either if the business administrator and or the police director is on the line. I looked at one of the line items, and it's a $1.2 million allocation or payment to the New Jersey Department of Justice. Right? $1.2 million to New Jersey Department of Justice. Is that what it is?
Councilwoman, it is actually a grant that we have received from the U.S. Department of Justice. And what this resolution is actually doing is to allow us to continue funding these line items to continue performing work.
Wait a minute, I'm confused. Okay, so I'm confused. So the resolution to provide emergency appropriations to the temporary budget of the city of Trenton. So this is accepting money, or this is money that we're putting aside to ensure bills are paid?
Yes, it's to ensure that we continue to pay bills. We don't have an adopted budget, and so as you know, we come to the council every so often to do emergency appropriations. This is one of those. It is an emergency appropriation for grants.
So these are. Okay, so when I look at the detailed line items that's embedded in the resolution, it says U.S. Department of Justice Community-Oriented Police Service, $1,250,000. So this is all revenue coming into the city or leaving the city?
This is money that is actually that has come to the city. The money is sitting in what we can say is sitting in the bank. But in order for us to spend it, we need to appropriate it to the line items. That is done when a budget is adopted. However, because we are operating under an emergency budget, these buckets have not been filled fully with all of the funding that we get from the various departments.
Okay. All right, so that's good news. Since we're on this topic of the Department of Justice and them giving us a $1.2 million grant to help us fund our community-oriented police initiatives in the city of Trenton, what's the status on the $4.5 million real-time real-time
technology center?
Yeah, crime center. Yeah, real-time crime center. Where's that funding? Is that part of it? The $4.5 million? Mr. Cruz or Miss Coley?
No.
I'm where is the funding, the $4.5 million that was going to develop a real-time RTCC, I think they named it, real-time crime center. Where's that money?
Okay, so currently that money is being used to actually build the real-time crime center. It is being used for that. We don't have a final date as to when it's going to be done. All of the all the decision makers was left up to the Attorney General's office. No, I'm sorry, was afforded to the state police as to how and when the money is being spent. We just had a meeting with them a week and a half ago as to the progress of the center, and that's where we are.
Okay.
So is that a part of this? Is that a part of this resolution?
It is not. That
Okay,
is something totally different.
Okay, so then we don't need to be discussing that right now, Councilwoman.
No, Council President, excuse me. No, because they said that we got a grant from the Department of Justice, and I wanted to know whether that grant was part of that funding, that's all. So it is a relevant question. Because the DOJ is the same, the state police is under the, wait a minute, that's the United States Department of Justice. Oh, I thought it said New Jersey Department of Justice.
Okay, so it's not a part of the, of the resolution.
Yes, I stand corrected. Thank you.
No, it is not.
All righty. Mr. Collin, can we move on?
Yes, ma'am. That's going to have to be a roll call because it's by 2/3 vote. It has to pass by 2/3 majority as an emergency resolution. So that is going to have to be roll call when the time comes. Next, we have Department of Housing and Economic Development, Benjamin Delisle, Director. First, we have Resolution 20-671, a resolution authorizing the public auction of certain city-owned properties pursuant to NJSA 40A 12-13A of the local lands and building law. Any questions?
Roll call.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we'll call that. And can I have, Council President, I just have some questions.
Go right ahead.
So, Mr. Delisle, is he on the line?
Yes, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I appreciate the detail that you provided. You list the listing of all the properties that are potentially going to be part of this particular auction,
Yes, it should be
right?
in the attachment.
And I'm just curious, when properties are being put up, public property being put up to auction, I read through the resolution, and it doesn't appear that there's any clauses put forward to hold these new owners accountable to the zoning ordinances as related to developing these properties. So why is that the case, right? If we're moving forward and trying to, build out our city, improve our landscapes, and making sure vacant properties are being taken care of and, purchased by responsible owners going forward, shouldn't there be, some clauses and put in these, in these terms, should be part of the terms of purchasing public property going forward, considering we're in a distressed situation right now? Because I'm concerned that a lot of people are buying these vacant properties and they leave them sitting there for, it's just a vicious cycle, right? So we hand them off to someone, a group of people, a wannabe developer, and the properties sit there and continue to deteriorate. So what strategies are you putting forward to enhance the terms of purchasing public property and holding these new owners accountable and making them partners with the city, Because nobody's following the ordinances as far as keeping their properties up to snuff.
Councilwoman, if I understood the beginning part of your question, it was how we will enforce zoning restrictions when they rehabilitate the properties?
Well, yeah. So we have zoning
Sure.
ordinance.
So,
Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
the majority of these properties are residential, single-family properties, And as you'll see in the auction, the terms of the auction, the idea is for a lot of these to be restricted to home ownership. So the restriction would be that they rehab them for home ownership. It would comply with zoning. Any new construction or businesses or change in use would require various, zoning or planning approvals and building permits. So we would enforce those as we would any other private development.
Yeah, but I don't see them being enforced now. That's what I'm saying. They're not being enforced, right? We have them, but are they being enforced? And are they being enforced because folks are not being informed, or I don't understand.
When they develop the property, yes, they would.
When you buy, like, bottom line is, when you buy a property in the city, and forget buying it, even if you own a property in the city, there are some terms and obligations that you have to comply with. I'm a homeowner in the city of Trenton, and I know if I didn't cut my grass for weeks at a time and rodents start coming around, I would think the health department is going to come after me. And you're going to fine me. And you're going to tell me you need to do X, Y, and Z, Ms. Vaughn. I'm just asking, how are we packaging these? Are we just telling people that they can come in and forget about our ordinances and our zoning requirements to keep our properties and our landscapes and our curb appeal up par? That's what I'm asking. And since you're the Housing Economic Developer Director, you should be, and now that housing inspections is also under you, this is a mandate that you should be out there making sure everybody is compliant with.
So, Councilwoman, the part of the terms of the sale, the contract of sale, will be that they rehabilitate the properties within a certain time period. Generally, it's 12 months. They will be exempt from the vacant property registration for that initial period because we know that they're doing the work. It will be incumbent upon the department to follow up with these properties and the sales that are consummated to make sure that they are being done. There are terms in the contracts that if they're not done, we can take the properties back. And certainly, any code enforcement stuff for these or any other properties are enforced by the inspections department. Excuse me, Councilwoman.
Yeah.
We issue many inspections and citations and violations and pursue them through the courts. So I don't think it's fair to say that we're not enforcing any of these things. Some things are out of our hands at some point once we refer them to the courts and the violations.
Yeah. So again, in the resolution, you don't reiterate those. You're not reinforcing or reiterating those laws in our ordinance.
Actually, under paragraph 18, that is reiterated, and under paragraph 24, it says that any bidder who did not comply with any past laws can be excluded from the bid, even if they have a successful bid on this bid. So, in other words, if other people have violated the codes in the past and not complied with the information that was required of them or the rehabilitation, they can be excluded from this bid by HED. Just as point.
But I understand that, but there's no detail there.
Actually, it is. On paragraph 18 and 24, there's detail there, ma'am.
Well, not to the level that I would like to see it. And right today, folks, we have hundreds of thousands of owners of property that are not compliant with our ordinance and zoning laws. The properties look a mess. So I don't understand how Mr. Delisle, being the director of housing inspections, is saying that, that people are compliant with the laws of the city, and he's having difficulty enforcing it.
No, Councilman, I said that there certainly are violations out there throughout the city. We have a team of inspectors that goes and performs inspections and issues citations to property owners that are not keeping current with the codes, and then they're pursued in the courts.
I think that we need to do more. We really do. So anyway, can we roll call this, please?
President McBride.
Yes, right ahead, Councilman Blakely.
Thank you. So I would like to really thank the Department of Economic Development for bringing this to our attention. Quite frankly, the city has hundreds of properties that, quite frankly, we should not have. We should encourage homeowners and people to buy these properties to live in as single-family homes. And so I love the fact that we are encouraging these properties to be owned by owner-occupied residents. I believe that we should be encouraging families and people to purchase homes here. And I'm really excited that we are going to have, this public auction that will provide home ownership opportunities for people who are interested. I know that many folks have complained that previous auctions have been filled with speculators and out-of-town landlords for years, and so that they believe that they don't have a fair chance when they are competing against folks who are coming to buy 10, 20, 30 houses at a time. And this
excuse me, we're on a resolution. Is there a question here? Because if there's not a question and we're talking about a resolution, you can make your statement during the civic comment. So is there a question here?
I don't have a statement. Move on.
Madam President?
Yes.
I have a quick question. I know that in the past there was a fee to be in one of those auctions. You have to pay $150 fee, and whether you bought a property or not, you had to pay that. Otherwise, you couldn't participate in the auction. Do we still have that fee on?
I think the fee is on the first page, Councilman. Mr. Delisle, you can answer that.
Councilman, thank you for the question. There is not a fee to participate in the auction. It's being done online, largely due in part to COVID restrictions. By having it online, many more people will be able to participate. In the past, we were limited to the seating capacity of the council chambers. So here, anyone can participate. And we've also set the deposit. There is a deposit that is required of just $1,000. If you're a successful bidder, then you will have to make up the difference so that you've deposited 10% of the property that you've won the bid on. But if you do not bid, then you'll get that $1,000 back. So in the event, or the end is that there will be no cost to participate in the auction should you not win a bid.
That is great. And that's going to continue like that, right? The 150 is going to be abolished.
Councilman, that is certainly my hope. If we can continue with this online platform and if it's successful, then there shouldn't be a need to do that.
Point of information about guidelines of.
Excuse me, Councilman. Let's make sure that Councilman Rodriguez was finished with his question.
Well, I am finished.
All righty, thank you. Go right ahead, Councilman Blake.
So I just want to I have a question for the parliamentarian here, the clerk. Is it proper for council people to make comments on these particular resolutions and ordinances, or are we restricted to simply asking questions? Because I'm realizing that some council colleagues are able to go at length on making all sorts of statements, and then when I'm asked to make a statement, or when I try to make a statement, I'm quickly shut down. And so I'd just like to know, for the record, as well as the law department as well, I'd like to have both of your opinions, the parliamentarian as well as the law department, based on my prerogative as a council person to ask questions or make statements during our docket review meetings. Because I'll just say for the record, Councilwoman Vaughn is able to make statements.
I asked the question. Direct question.
Excuse me, Councilwoman Vaughn.
She's asking.
No. Nobody don't lie on me now. I asked the question.
Councilwoman Vaughn, if you let Mr. Blakely finish his statement, please.
She's able to make questions and provide statements. And so I just want to see if I'm able to be treated the same way as every member of this council. I've made statements on these dockets during docket review.
Oh, the only point, Ms. Vaughn was asking a question with regard to the $4.5 million tech center. And when she went far out, a little bit far out in the field, Council President did sort of rein her in and asked her if it was related directly to the motion. The conversations that occur today should be about questions that relate to the general motion. I certainly see no problem with brief statements of I support this or I don't support this, but really it's about questions for your information, to get your information so that you can get information to consider your vote on Thursday. If you have what would be referred to as a speech of support or other, you can certainly voice that during your civic comment. If there are questions about this matter, which is what this workshop is about, these can be answered. Once again, it's up to the council chair to liberally or strictly enforce the rules depending on the flow of the meeting and to keep the meeting moving along. And that's really what it's about. But with respect to Councilmember Vaughn, she did call back Councilmember Vaughn. I think she has pretty much evenly. You were making a statement rather than a question. That's what she just asked you to keep it to a question. But generally, Robert's Rules of Orders indicate that we should stick to the motion or the item on the floor. And once again, this is about asking questions rather than making statements. Statements, there is a portion at every meeting for every council member to make a statement. Once again, and it's up to the council chair whether to liberally or strictly enforce that. Sometimes the dictates of the meeting require us to move things along, and she would like to keep the flow of the meeting going. So that is her prerogative. And that's what I have on it. That's my general best interpretation.
Okay, he wants the law department to weigh in too.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with the city clerk to the extent that he said that it's within the council chair's purview to keep the meeting, the council chairwoman, purview to keep the meeting flowing. And I also agree that the statement that he said that during this portion that you have to stick with either motions and items on the floor. It appears that, and just based on her prior comment to Councilwoman Vaughn, is that this time was just strictly to questions on the resolutions at this point. And, that's all I want to weigh in on that. So I think it's within the council president's purview to kind of to regulate this portion of the meeting. This portion of the meeting was regarding to questions. Councilwoman Vaughn asked a question. When she went further, council president did, kind of request that she save that for later, and we should stick to the motions and items on the floor.
Okay, thank you. Just asking for the record.
All righty. Okay, so Mr. Collin, can we move forward?
Unexpended CDBG CV funding to food insecurity, mortgage, rent, and utility relief programs. Question is open. The floor is open for questions.
If there's no questions, then this would be a part of the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we have Resolution 20-673, a resolution authorizing a contract to Insight Public Center, excuse me, a resolution authorizing a contract to Insight Public Sector for software license and related services to provide code red reverse 911 services through New Jersey State Contract Number M-000389853 in an amount not to exceed $23,118.75. It was open for questions.
If there's no questions, it could be a part of the consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Next, we're going to have the introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 10, alcohol beverages of the City Code of the City of Trenton to require the installation of security cameras by establishments which hold alcohol beverage control licenses.
I do have a question about this for the police director. Is this under the police director?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Ms. Coley, my question is, did the bars and liquor stores, did they get a chance to actually be a part of the meeting before we put this ordinance up? Were they a part of the conversation as stakeholders in this?
This is not coming directly from me. This is coming from the state ABC. So they should have been notified as license holders. So this is not something that's coming from me. This is coming from the state, and we have to make it part of our city records as well.
Okay, so even though it's coming from the state, how can we make sure that the stakeholders are familiar with this piece of legislation that's coming down?
Okay, so what should happen is Detective Franisovich, when it's time for each applicant to renew, he should be able to sit down and give them the state ordinance that says that this is what you have, the state directive, I should say, that this is what it is that you have to do. And certainly if they have any questions prior to that, he is available to answer any of their questions regarding ABC regulations.
Right. So my other question is, can we make sure that the stakeholders know about this ordinance, even if it's coming, even if it's a directive from the state? You're asking us to pass it on the local level, and I would just like for the stakeholders to be aware of the ordinance so that if they do have any questions or if they do want to find out more information about the ordinance, that they have the information before we vote on it, because we passed an ordinance that for our residents back a while ago with the to increase their license, and it hadn't been done in a while, but we got such a pushback from the community. So I just want to try to avoid that by, asking what can we do to make sure that the stakeholders have this ordinance. Is it possible for the ABC person to get this ordinance out to the stakeholders, to all of the people?
Council President, I can do a direct mailing to as the licensing authority. I can do a direct mailing to the ABC licenses with regard to this. We have most of their emails, so that's no problem to email them.
So that's
but if we can't get by email, we can get by an actual letter. This actually wouldn't take effect until next year because all the renewals have occurred this year already. By the time the effective date takes place, it'll be for June 30th of next year, and they would have to be in compliance by July 30th of next year. So
for the 2022 year, yes, for the 21-22 year, yes. So we have more than enough time to make sure that they that they are aware of the changes that are coming forth. So we definitely have enough time to do that. And if Mr. Conlon would send an email, that's fine. And if not, then I can have Detective Franisovich send out a letter to all of the license holders.
Okay, I appreciate that, Director Coley, because I just don't want, the pushback to come, hey, we didn't know this, we didn't see this coming, XYZ. So thanks a lot. I appreciate that. And Mr. Conlon, if you could definitely get that out, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, I will do.
Thank you. If there's no other questions, that could be a part of the roll call. Part of the consent agenda. I apologize.
Actually, no, ma'am, it's an ordinance, so it'll have to be roll call.
Thank you. Thank you for the correct.
Finally, we have a resolution to enter into executive session. This will have to be a roll call. This is 20-665. Resolution authorizing City Council of the City of Trenton to hold an executive session, which includes the public, based upon the topics. It's a personal and attorney-client privilege topic. So, any questions with regard to that?
So what are we waiting for, a motion?
No, we don't need a motion. We have, if you want to open up public comments on the docket items only.
Yes, that would be good.
Any member of the public wishing to be recognized, please raise your hand to be recognized by the council chair. Once you've raised your hand, we will recognize you. Council President, first we have Ms. Sherry Garrett.
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Garrett.
Thank you, Council President. I have, I think, just concern in regards to two of the resolutions. 2672. It's just a statement that I hope that there's going to be someone overseeing, there's going to be oversight, tracking, and efficient records of information for all the funds that are going to be allocated in regards to residents for food, security, mortgage, whatever. I hope there's going to be some, good oversight and tracking of these documents and personnel that's going to respond very quickly to get this money dispersed, and there's no confusion about how to, release these funds to residents within the city of Trenton. And the last one is the 2054. The ordinance that the director Coley just spoke about. I just have a concern. I know there was an incident early on. Excuse me one second. Excuse me. I'm talking. I know there was an incident early on in her as director, where there was an incident where there was a young man. It was a exchange of gunfire between a resident for, I think, a stolen car and the police. And it was in the paper where the police department, prior to the establishment opening up, the police entered the establishment, a commercial, I think it was a liquor store, or it was either a few of the establishments where they went and they took the recorded information in that area, in that vicinity, for investigation, and they did not inform the owners of those commercial establishments that they were in there. They didn't have search warrants, and they obtained their equipment. So I don't know if that equipment was returned. I don't know what happened. How did that was resolved? Because I didn't see any follow-up about it. But I think, that probably will be a concern, because if that's part of the regulations, the question is how much access are they going to have to these people's establishment if something happens in their area where the police department or detectives enters their establishment before they're even aware that they have that something was recorded in front of their business. So I hope that those details are worked out, far as, the state, or the city having access to anything that's recorded if there's something happening in front of their establishment. I think that's going to be an issue for some of them. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to be recognized? Council President, nobody else is raising their hand to be recognized. Do I have a motion to close public portion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Council Vice President Colwell-Wilson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Council President.
Hello?
Yes,
Mary
hello?
Horn Trenton?
Yes, we have to allow her to speak because...
Yes, ma'am. You want to speak?
Yes, sir. Mary Horn Trenton.
Yes, ma'am.
In regards to housing and inspections. I am one who lives on a street that has several vacant properties, and they have been vacant for a while. Homeowners, we have reached out to inspections to have them come out. And thus far, these properties are, we were told that they were issued citations, but we would just like to say that it's been a while, and it's been a long while, that inspections has come out to enforce this on a expedient nature. I believe that, we're going to have to be more expedient in trying to get these property owners to abide by the rules that govern the city as far as inspections are concerned, because developers are coming in and they're buying properties and they have the properties, and I don't believe that, I don't know, maybe I'm over talking here, but that these properties are being inspected before these people are moving in. They're buying properties and renting the properties out as though they say we buy the home as is and we rent it as is. And it's a failure. It has been a failure to accommodate the homeowners that are adjacent to these properties, because we get all the flack from it, because the renters can come and go, but we have to stay here. We're homeowners. But I would like to see inspections be more expedient
Giving feedback, Mr.
in
Cohen.
citations.
I'm working on it.
More expedient with citations with these homeowners, because they don't come out, they don't, there's properties that are sitting there, people are coming in, they're renting them out, and they're there, and the homeowners that are adjacent to them, they have to, be bothered by everything that's the going-ons that are in the rented property. But, and I've been told that citations have been written, but we haven't seen anything done. So I just like to say, it is a concern, and there are a lot of properties. I have several on my street that I would like to have housing and inspections come out and do the work, or have the homeowners do what's needed to do, what's governed by the city, to have them as far as housing and inspections are concerned. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conlon, could you just give a pause for a minute to see if there's anyone else out there trying to get on that might be muted?
Yes, ma'am. Is there anybody else that would like to be recognized by the city council? We're going to give you a minute to get yours.
Hi, hello. This is Manuel Hernandez from Latino Merchants Association.
Okay, state your name a little bit louder, sir.
Manuel Hernandez from Latino Merchants Association.
Mr. Hernandez from the Latino Merchants Association is seeking recognition, Council President.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, we will try to inquire about what the resolution is about, the recording of
I can't even hear him. I can't hear him at all.
We have tried that before, never worked.
Mr. Rodriguez, you have a lot of static where you are, and you're not coming through very clear.
It's Mr. Hernandez. Mr. Hernandez, can you speak into your phone?
Yeah, hi, this is Manuel Hernandez from Latino Merchants Association.
That's better.
Okay, can you hear us good now?
Yes.
We had inquired about the resolution that tried to be passed about how businesses giving out like recording of
the cameras.
We were never informed about anything that's going on tonight.
What are you saying, Mr. Hernandez?
He's saying that he's never heard of the resolution.
We're trying to find out about the resolution about the police department and the cameras and the business and all that.
Okay, so I've asked Mr. Conlon to make sure that he get this resolution emailed out. So you will get it tomorrow. Everybody will get it tomorrow. Okay.
It will not be tomorrow, Council President.
Okay, because we never got it. We never have a chance to look at it.
Yeah, it'll be sometime next week. But Mr. Hernandez, if you email clerk@TrentonNJ.org,
yes.
I'll send you a copy on Thursday. Contact my office on Thursday. Who's here who wants a copy of the order?
We do that because we need to find out about what's going on.
That's not a problem.
This is something we've tried to do for a long time with the police department, but nothing ever worked. And now something's trying to be passed, and we don't know anything about it. And we're a large organization representing the businesses over here in Trenton.
If you contact my office on Thursday, I will email you a copy of the resolution, of the ordinance.
Okay. I'm sure I'll do that. I'm going to contact you and every council member too. so
Yes,
they know
sir.
I'm contacting you.
Yes, sir. Please do.
All right. Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
Mhm.
Anybody else wish to be recognized by the council? Mrs. Evangeline Ugori is seeking recognition. Council President.
Yes, go right ahead.
Ms. Ugori, you've been recognized by council. Please go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I do have several comments on several of your resolutions on this docket tonight. Let me start with the Department of...
You're
I have a
going in and
concern
out.
regarding, well, I'm not moving. Maybe it's a problem that's ongoing. I have a lot of problems on this site logging in. I don't know why. But anyway, regarding Resolution 2669, cancellation of various grant balances from the federal, state, and county governments. I don't know what that's all about. We don't, as the members of the public, all the documentations for considerations that you, the council, get. Just looking at it at face value, I'm assuming that these are monies that are left over from grants from these various respective that have not been used, and I question why. Only because I do know that whatever is not used, whatever is being returned, chances are the further put back in consideration of getting the same amount. And then right under it, moving on to the next resolution, Resolution 2670, that is asking to provide emergency appropriations to the fiscal year, temporary, what they call it, budgets of the city of Trenton. Current fund to grant appropriations and amount is in the $2 million. Turning grant funds from the state, from the federal, from other county governments. Why are you, where do you want us to get the money to make your emergency appropriations for when you cannot adequately or efficiently manage the grants that are being, we are under ACOs, we are challenged financially, and yet somehow you're not able to efficiently use the grants that you get. I just think that there's something a little off there, you know? And so moving forward, under the Housing and Economic Development, Resolution 2671. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm hearing some noise. I don't know if I've been cut off or not because this happens frequently.
No.
You know,
We hear you. We hear you, Miss Evangeline.
All right. So resolution authorizing the public auction of certain city-owned properties. I think the mention council also in response to comments from members of the community about adequacy or the lack thereof of information from this department to the public. I'd like to suggest that sometimes when we have emergencies or whatever, the city of the county is able to make certain calls, what they call them APB calls, and people are able to hear on their phones in the or across their TVs announcements of, you know, stuff like this here. If you really do want to partner with the public, a lot of them City Hall, a lot of them do not know when or how to seek this information out, even when you claim that they are there posted perhaps. Maybe you can make these announcements over the air, alert the people that are listening to their TVs, their radios or whatever, so that they are aware. A lot of times people act on what they're able to actively hear over the radio waves, over the TV waves, especially if it involves what directly impacts them local to where they live. Okay, so you could use that as an avenue or method of communication. Really do want to partner with them to help with the purchase of this empty abandoned properties in Trenton or abandoned in Trenton to do stuff with. And so the same sentiment that I expressed regarding Resolution 2669 also applies to Resolution 2672 under the same Department of Housing and Economic Development. Okay? Stop partnering up with all these LLCs, all these outsiders who do not care about these properties in Trenton. They do not live in Trenton. And as the last speaker mentioned, even when they do redevelop them for the purposes of renting out, it is clear that there is no inspections to make sure that they're complying with the current codes, that are being made. They do not care about the upkeep of these properties. What they call them, these landlords. Anyway, they collect money and they're not interested in the upkeep of these properties. So in terms of and moving Trenton forward, that might not be in compliance. If they don't get their money, they don't pay the taxes, but they do own the properties. Relative to the ones who buy them but haven't redeveloped them for the purposes of occupation, you have the same thing. These people are buying these liens and or tax sale certificates for the purposes of interest income earnings. They do not care about these properties. They're not vested like the people who live here in Trenton. Okay, so enough said about that. Regarding the administration's resolution of 2651, resolution consenting to the appointment of Mark A. Levenberg as director of the Department of Trenton Water Works and Sewer for the City of Trenton. I believe this is the number 3 or number 4 acting director. I have spoken about this in the past, and I want to repeat it this evening. I don't know why we are monkeying around with this issue. No offense to Mr. Mark Levenberg. I don't know who he is, but I'm just saying we have qualified people who have worked for over 20 years in this department, have the requisite licensures, whose contracts could be leveraged and renegotiated to manage this in this directorial capacity. Much in the same vein as I have heard this evening being talked about by the same Mark Levenberg about them co-opting Mr. Hobart of the Public Works Department. Why can't we do that with the people who work there, who have managerial capacity and educational credentials? Okay, why do we have to have these people from outside who do not live in the city of Trenton, who do not invest in the city? This is the 4th revolving door employment or appointment in this capacity. What are we waiting for? What are we hiding? Who are this quid pro quo money laundering in this year's stock exchange that is the city of Trenton? I will end my comments on that note. I have more to say, but enough for now. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
We're seeking recognition for Ms. Brown Humphrey.
Yes, go right ahead, Ms. Humphrey.
Hello, I wanted to speak on behalf of the resolution appointing Director Mark Lavenberg. As the lady stated before, we have been through several directors, acting director, which causes disruption in the department to be able to function like we need to. So I'm hoping that we can make a decision on this on Thursday and close this out so that we can start to have some stability in the department to be able to get some things accomplished that we need to get done and get rid of some of these ACOs. That's all I have.
Anybody else wish to be recognized by council? Second call. Council President, do I have a motion to end closed public portion?
Yes, you already had the motion. We can move forward. Do we need to motion it again?
Yeah, I would. Just.
All righty. So move.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any more than that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Is that a council person who said nay?
Yes.
Okay, I have a council person voting against closing public portion?
No, I thought you said, is there any opposing?
Any opposed? No. Seeing none opposed, public portion is closed. We shall now move on to the civic comments by council members.
We're doing a civic comment before we go into executive session.
There is no executive session tonight, man. It's for Thursday.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Blakely this evening. Councilman Blakely. Mr. Conlon, is he still on?
I do not see Councilman Blakely still on. Mr. Blakely, are you still here, sir? Mr. Blakely has departed, ma'am. Mark Mr. Blakely absent as of 7:07 p.m.
All righty. So then we'll move on to Councilwoman Caldwell Wilson.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and participating in our meeting. I have a question either for Mr. Cruz or Mr. Onateri.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
You're here. Okay, so the garbage was not picked up in Mill Hill today, and it's all down the street, plenty cans and bags. And tomorrow's a holiday, so what do I tell the community about the garbage? Because tomorrow's supposed to be our recycling day too.
The garbage has been picked up today. Yes, we came there late, and then it's already picked up.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, because it wasn't picked up when we started the meeting.
Yes, that's correct. It was after you got into the meeting, and then because they were still out there because of the shortage of trucks we have. And as far as recycle goes, the recycle is a private.
I know that's the county, but they don't tell us whether they're picking up on holidays or not.
That's what I'm saying. It's supposed to be picked up because it's a private company who does that, and I don't believe they take that holiday for Veterans Holiday.
Okay, so I'm just going to check, Mr. Onateri, while you're on the phone. I'm just going to check and make sure that the garbage is gone.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Harrison.
Councilman Harrison, are you still with us, sir? He's got his hand raised. I don't think he can speak, Council President. I think he's got a mute problem. Councilman Harrison, do you want to exit and come back? And she can go on to the next person until you come back? Is that all right with you, Council President?
Yes.
He might be having a problem unmuting himself.
Okay, we'll go ahead to Councilman Mushal.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilman Rodriguez.
No comments.
Okay. Councilwoman Vaughn.
Yes. Is Wally Onateri still on the line?
Yes, I am, Councilwoman.
Yes. Mr. Onateri, I just had a couple of concerns that I wanted to, inform you about that's coming from some of our residents that you serve. Even myself, we're concerned about the lack of compliance with some of the COVID guidance that's coming from our state government and our federal government. A lot of your department employees are not compliant. They're not wearing masks around the city while they're working, in their frontline essential employees, particularly in the solid waste department. And I just want to know, are you aware of that?
Well, Councilwoman, yes, I would tell you this, that I am aware of it, but they've been approached about them wearing their mask, and their complaint is that because of the type of job they are doing, and they are by themselves at the back of the garbage truck, they are not together, and then they need to breathe because of the heavy load they are working with. And I've encouraged them, every one of them, to at least have your mask around your neck. So when you come in contact with somebody else, you can pull it up on your nose. So they are all, we give them mask every morning when they come into the yard before they go out at sanitation. But I'm working on making sure that they have that. If not, they're going to have to get disciplined.
Well, I got to say, that's not a justifiable complaint that your mask prevents you from breathing. Because if you go across, that is, that's on you, Mr. Onateri, if you accept that explanation. Those are masks that are, I believe, are standard in the industry, in the medical industry, and they should not be preventing anyone from breathing. And that is no excuse for anybody not to wear a mask who are frontline essential employees, right?
I agree with you.
So I heard Mr. Lavenberg speak very pointedly about his mandate, and that what is your mandate to your employees? Is it the same, inconsistent?
Yeah, it is the same. Just like I said earlier, they were given, that's why we give them masks every morning and we told them to do it. But when I drive by sometime, when I see them, I pull them over and I ask them why. And just like I told you, because of the type of job they do, which is a heavy kind of picking up garbage and running after the truck and doing that, kind of shorting their breath. And that's the excuse they gave me, which I told them, okay, to compromise, at least have it around your neck. So when you come close to somebody, you'll be able to pull it up on your nose because they are by themselves most of the time at the back of the garbage truck.
Well, I see a drive, again, I don't understand. So when you see them that way, are they aware that if they're not complying, they're not wearing their mask? And certainly because they're out of breath on a garbage truck, is not an excuse not to be safe from a deadly virus.
Yes, we have explained this to them, and even the health officer, Yvette, I took her there to sanitation to have this meeting with them, which we did. We had this discussion, and like I told their supervisor, which I sent them an email today, that effective from today, everybody must wear it or they're going to face disciplinary action.
Okay, very good. That's what I wanted to hear. So also, I'm getting complaints from my constituents in the Oakland neighborhood that they're not on the leaf pickup schedule. Are you putting the Oakland Neighborhood Civic Association on the leaf pickup schedule? Because they're not on there. And they go through this every season.
On Oakland?
Yes, Oakland Avenue.
Okay, I will look into that.
Parkside, that neighborhood right adjacent to the Hillcrest community, they're not included on that leaf pickup. Oakland, all of Parkside, right? I know that's county, but the city picks up those homes, right?
On Parkside, that is the county, but we do pick up at the back, and then if necessary, sometimes we do pick it up if the county is lacking. Because
okay, but not on Oakland, right?
Yeah,
there's a lot of trees back there.
I will check on that to look at the list again for Oakland.
Okay. And another question I asked your colleague, Mr. Mark Lavenberg, about regarding where are you with that ordinance, Mr. Onateri, regarding with PSE&G and other contractors that do construction in the city that may have to dig, disrupt new pavement, etc. I mean, what are you doing to ensure that these entities are held, accountable for repairing those spaces once they have disrupted them, right?
Yes.
We talk about this for a long time now, and I don't understand why. Do I have to have the law department write the ordinance? And but you're the director of public works. This is something that should be high priority for you, because you see what our roads look like, right?
Councilwoman, we do have an ordinance, in there that they cannot open up the roads after it's done for a number of years. But sometimes when they have a situation, the same thing with water, we try to work together with water and PSE&G to give them the list of our intended road to be repaved at the beginning. And sometimes they follow us and do exactly what we're doing right, together. But sometimes we have situations where after the road is done, they have an emergency that they have to. The Councilwoman Maggie help us. We work together to get PSE&G to do all that roads by Ingram, by MLK, which we did, and they came back after us. So they came back and they did that whole area. PSE&G did it. It was in the city after they did that. And from now on, we kept, we're going to keep working to give them the list. By December, we're going to come up with the list of roads to be paved for next year. We're going to give it to PSE&G and water and sewer.
And the the other issue that I have is that over in Glen Afton neighborhood, you probably are already aware. You paved a street over there, I believe Afton Avenue, and it used to have puddles of water, right? And the community over there is complaining that that issue still haven't been resolved, even post, the new pavement.
Councilwoman, if I may ask you, when was this? When did you get this information? Because we fixed that problem.
No, it was this week.
No, that problem
so
was...
after last week, we had all that rain last week, and all that water. The residents sent over photos to the mayor, and the water and the puddles are still there. The day is only Tuesday. So unless you went over there and remediated yesterday, you fixed it?
We did this because when we first did the job, the day we did it, the asphalt was the problem. We got the asphalt from far, far away. And by the time we got it, it got cold. So we realized that, the problem we had, and that's on Morningside to 29, So we did that. We came back and we fixed that problem again.
When did you fix it?
Last week? Last week, yes, last week.
Well,
it was done on Saturday. We came there and mailed it on Saturday. And then on that Monday, we came back and we paved that whole street.
Okay. I will follow up with that community and see, because and I'll send you the email, because they took some photos of lots of water.
I saw that thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that was sent to me.
Okay, excellent. And the only thing that I want to ask of Ben Delisle, if he could, thank you, Mr. Onateri, very quickly. Ben, I do have a question regarding one of the resolutions that I forgot to ask. You gave a list of the UEZ loans. You sent over, well, it wasn't really part of the resolution, but you sent over to council a listing of all the businesses that applied for the UEZ loan program in the city.
You're referring to the monthly report I sent?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that one of the groups, one of the categories I saw that you're tracking is businesses that submitted applications and later decided not to pursue the loan.
Yes.
And I was just curious as to why did they retract, right? Were the terms of the loan lacking? Was it not beneficial or advantageous, or was it cost prohibitive for them? I'm just curious, perhaps maybe the program was, it's not robust enough. It's very concerning when businesses apply for the loan and then for whatever reason they decide not to move forward with it. It's usually because maybe the terms are too costly for them or they couldn't afford it. What was the issue there?
I think, Councilwoman, it's going to be different for every business. We've always encouraged people to apply, or at least just to get started with the application. Initially we thought we were going to have more applicants and more interest than we had funds for. So we always encourage people just to start the application process, just to kind of get in the door, if you will. We've also, I think, found that some people decided not to pursue it. They found either other state programs or federal programs that were more advantageous to them.
Okay.
Maybe they weren't, really eligible, or they just found that they didn't need it. But I don't recall getting a lot of feedback from folks that they didn't like the program. I mean, we are certainly working within the confines that we have, that it's a loan and that it's only within the UEZ area.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. So I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming out this evening and participating. I would like to thank all of the directors and the business administrator. Thank you. I don't have a civic comment this evening. I will reserve for Thursday. Thank you all.
Council President, I apologize, but can I ask one more question for Mr. Onateri?
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Caldwell-Wilson.
Director?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, about a week or so ago, I had sent a request through the mayor's office regarding the little plaza on Center Street, as you're coming down Broad and you make a right by Sacred Heart, just before the stop sign, there's a little plaza. And all the concrete is all broken. It's so messy there. And I've asked to get Public Works out there to try and clean up that area. Is it possible that one of those small sweepers can jump that curb and clean that plaza, and they can at least tear down some of the weeds and everything there? Because we have condos across the street, we have homes right next to it, and people have been complaining about the mess.
That will be done. And also to let you know, I got in touch with the county. They will be there tomorrow to pick up your recycle.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. And if you could just take care of that plaza, I would appreciate it.
That will be done.
Thank you very much.
Council
President.
Council President?
Yes, Councilman Harrison?
What is going on? My phone has been muted the whole night. I haven't been able to get through. I go to hang up. It boots me back into it, and I'm still blocked. I don't know what's going on here. This seems to be an ongoing problem that I've been having. Can somebody figure out what is going on?
That would be the...
I'm muted all night. I have not been getting... This has been going on for I don't know how long now. I've been muted the whole night, and I'm trying to get in, and it just... I tried to hang up the phone. It wouldn't let me in. I don't know what's going on here.
Nobody muted you, sir, so it was
muted. It was muted all night. I was not able to get through.
Councilman Harrison, you have to go in and put it on speaker or whatever.
I know that. I'm saying to you, every time right here where the speaker is, it was muted by not me. It was completely dark, like somebody else had muted me. And I could not be muted.
Let me just say this to you, Councilman, Mr. Cruz, because this is not the first time that this has occurred, and I've asked the IT department to check into the fact that Mr. Harrison was being muted, because this is not the first occurrence. So, Mr. Cruz, can you please have someone from the IT department look into the situation?
Yes, Madam President, I will reach out to Mr. Rivera, and we'll figure out what is going on for the next meeting.
Okay, because this is like
Thank you.
Like 2 meetings ago to Councilman Harrison too.
And we do have some new equipment, Council President, that'll help out with this it's coming very shortly. So the new equipment.
Thank you. I
should help out very, very shortly.
All right. I just want them to check into it because it could be very frustrating when you're trying to get in. All right.
Though, if somebody does get muted and they can't unmute themselves, you can exit out of the meeting and come right back in, and that should resolve the problem. I'm not sure why. Zoom has the same problem as Teams does. Not sure why that happens. I just think it's an overload on the system. But sometimes it does happen where somebody gets stuck in that mute mode. So if you do get stuck in that mute mode, exit out and enter in real quick, and that should resolve the issue.
That's what I'm trying to say. What I was trying to say to you is I tried exiting the meeting, but as soon as I went to exit it, it shot me right back into being muted. So I wasn't able to exit. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I literally had to hold the button down and turn the phone off, and then reboot the phone that way.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'll
exactly.
Look into it.
That's why I'm frustrated here.
Yeah.
I understand.
All righty. So Mr. Cruz is going to look into it for you, Councilman, and try to figure out what's going on so it doesn't occur again. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
All righty. I would like to put a motion forward to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Council President, can I just say one thing, please? I just wanted to thank everybody who participated in the election and helped us with the election. That's all. And I apologize for interrupting. I have a motion by Council President McBride.
Second.
A second by Council Vice President Caldwell-Wilson. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
I have all ayes. Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:27 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Please be safe and well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.